or what is something that motivates you the most working on TFT?
I mean, getting to be the lead designer on a project that is played by millions of people every day, to the point where like a bunch of players like have made this their life. You know, the streamers that play it constantly, players are playing this every day. They're just so enthusiastic about it, to the point where like, I'm getting messages, hundreds of messages a day. It's like I look at that and I'm like, every game designer on the world would kill to be in that position, and I'm lucky enough to be there. So like enjoy it, be happy with it, and just like do the best you can, because again, anyone would kill to have that job.
That's such awesome. That's an awesome perspective. I think you're right. It's such a great place to be in, and I think that would be motivation enough for most people. So
Yeah, I
good
mean,
answer.
again, like I go back to me being, a kid, 12, 15 years old. What did I want to do? Be the lead designer on a cool game that everyone's enjoying, and like, don't take that for granted. So,
So to put a little context, or help a little context for a point we made before, about being a lead designer and what that means versus a principal designer.
mhm.
What what would maybe a common cycle, or maybe a week look like for you? Like, obviously you don't have to go into detail, just
Yeah, yeah.
generals.
Yeah, so basically, at any given point, from a design perspective, it's up to me to be responsible for the quality of the game. And so this could be a short-term problem. Like, I'll use one right now. Like, ergot is something that players are really not having fun against, and we need
Yeah.
a short-term solution very quickly. So it's
Mm,
my job to work with the other designers to come up with a solution. And as the lead designer, I have the sign off on like, wait a minute, is this going to fix the problem? Or
mm,
like, no, I like that. That's great. So it's up to me to work with the other designers to come up with the best call, ship that
mm,
out. But also like the longer term problems, right? Where it's like, okay, we just shipped galaxies, but 4.5 months is killing our team. And 4.5 months, at around month 3, players start to get bored. What do we do?
mm,
Working with production to think about new strategies, and like, hey, what if instead of doing a full set every 4.5 months, we do half sets? Coming up with that strategy. And so like
yeah.
every element of the game, I'm there working to like make sure we're on the right track and the game is as quality it can be. And oftentimes that's filtering other people's ideas into the best it can be.
Right on.
Yeah, and I think the half set landed really well in my opinion. It really refreshed the game in a way that just adding a couple more units I don't think really ever got to. So
Yep,
congrats for
that
that.
was
That seems like a
that
great
was the
accomplishment.
theory, and I'm not gonna lie, there were nights I wasn't sleeping. It's just like, is this gonna work? But so far, it seems to be like S plus. We hit our goal.
Nice.
So and it doesn't help that like the meta right now is damn near one of the healthiest it's ever been. So
Mm,
that has helped too.
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool.
It's like that with League right now too. I think, at least from what I've read. I'm nowhere near a League of Legends expert, but from what I've read, we're at some of the highest champion diversity in both pro play and just
Nice.
solo queue that we've ever been at. So
I
that's pretty
admit, with
awesome.
my TFT time going up, my league time has gone down. Two
Mhm.
2 years ago, year and a half ago, I might have been able to have a good conversation about league. Now I'm like, I sneak an ARAM in once every 2 weeks or so.
Oh man,
I
I'm worse
I'm
than that. I play Earth. If I ever play
Yeah.
League, I play Earth. That's, yeah, man.
we had you weren't here for this episode, Larry, but we had Alex Ranger on a couple week or
Yeah,
about a month
yeah.
ago now, and we talked about Earth, and he went on such a rant about how he hated Earth. It was hilarious. He's just like,
Shout out to Alex,
fuck
by the
Earth.
way. Great QA. Great QA.
Oh
Love
man, I
working with
love Alex.
Alex.
Alex is
Yeah.
such a great guy. Uh, yeah. So coming back to what motivates you the most, what would you say is something that you struggle with the most?
Oh, okay. So one of the things, as I mentioned, is that I've been a gamer growing up and addicted to games and playing games and whatever. And again, I don't take my job for granted. And so I am probably the worst example of healthy work-life balance and disconnecting. Like I said, I'm thinking TFT every moment, to the point where it's kind of unhealthy. And so I struggle with like disconnecting. Um, And then one of the things I also struggle with, but I've gotten a lot better about this, is like expecting my peers to also put a similar level of engagement in their work. Because again, it's just like stupidly unrealistic. Most people should have healthy work life balances. And so that's something I struggle with quite a bit personally. It's a very personal problem. I don't think most people you talk to have this problem, but it is what it is.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
I guess a question is how like what are some of the things that you're doing to prevent that high level of burnout? Because like you said, um, you don't find too many people that have that as a challenge, but the ones that do, they burn hard, they burn fast, right?
Yeah.
Like, um,
So it's interesting because when I was at Nintendo, we didn't really crunch that much. We were fortunate enough that our projects were not that bad. Me and an engineering buddy were both kind of like the high performers, would do well. And I would work like 50, 55 hour weeks. I always had this line though, where it was like, okay, I'm done today. I'm going home, easy cheesy. And I always had a healthy line. Whereas my engineering buddy, he was much harder to disconnect. He would like work those 70s and those 80s. And it was like, I got to finish. I'm like, dude, you got to go home. And as you mentioned, around year 6, year 7, he started burning out. He's just like, why am I doing this? What is the point? And he and I talked through it, and we got him to a healthier spot. And now he works like he's not at Nintendo anymore. He's at a different company, but he works the healthy 40-50. So for me, up until recently, I've always been good at just like finding that line where it's like, wait a minute, I'm tired. Nope, let's go do something else.
yeah.
Just distract yourself. Because I find that like it's not about like a set number. It's not 40 or 50 or 80. It's
Mhm.
what works for you. And as if you're not enjoying it and you're tired, go do something else. Um, Now, admittedly, with TFT, this is actually the first time in my career where I have not been able to do that very well. Um, so I'm actually learning as I go, to be honest here, of like,
Right on.
how do I combat this where it's just like I feel like I have the world on my shoulders sometimes, and if I take a day off, the world will fall apart, which it won't. I know that, but you know.
Do you feel like your struggles for disconnecting have gotten harder since the lockdown, since you are working from home?
Yes. Oh, yes. The fact that like I'm literally sitting here on my home PC and my work PC, like right
Yeah.
here, and it's like, oh, sweet, I'm done working. Now I'm gonna go to my relaxation spot.
Oh,
Wait, oh,
oh.
that's right here. Like, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's way worse.
Yeah, I think that sentiment has pretty much been echoed by everyone that we've asked that question to. It is hard. It's hard. Some things that, I mean, there's all these recommendations that you see online. They're like, try to separate your work zone from your like. It doesn't. I mean, first of all,
With my
there's
6-bedroom mansion, I will
Yeah,
gladly
exactly.
do
First
that.
of all,
And yeah, no problem.
there's
Like, it was actually a
logistical
big
part.
deal for the couch back here was in a different room, and that used
Mhm.
to be my wife's computer because we like
Oh,
shared the
wow.
office.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
the work from home stuff started, I'm like, I need the space.
Yep.
So we moved her out into that room and put the couch here, and it's just like you got to do what you got to do. So
Well, that makes sense. It made me look at my couch. Could I move- No,
You
I
should put
probably.
your couch in your office, Larry, and then just
Yeah, I
move
should.
move
Well,
Vivi somewhere else.
no. What I should do is I should take my couch and move it to Mort's place, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
right, like
You
it's
just hang
just
out
get
hang
extra
out with
room.
more.
Yeah.
yeah,
Now
exactly.
that's an untapped idea right there. Instead of working from home, why don't everyone just go to somebody else's house and work from their house? And then at the end of the day, you switch
flip.
places. Yeah, you
Yeah,
flip flop.
see?
And that
Yeah,
way
there you
you,
go.
you get the best of both worlds.
I
And
see
you
All
no
right, well,
flaw in this
see?
plan. None whatsoever.
None.
get all the stuff from their fridge. I mean, there's no downside.
Make sure it's stocked up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's actually another question to ask. Has the work from home and that hard to disconnect aspect made you like pick up hobbies? Wow, hobbies or made you disconnect in different ways that you may not have otherwise been privy to?
I'm probably not the best example of this because the one hobby I have is streaming TFT.
Mhm.
Is kind of work. It's
Okay.
so it's not really the healthiest thing. Other than that, though, no. To be honest, like I, yeah, I admittedly use a bit too much of my time for that, as well as spending time with the kids, and so like that's kind of like all my time, and
Right.
it is what it is. So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
Well, I mean, you're
envy
still
anyone.
enjoying it. Yeah.
yeah,
I envy anyone who can sit down and relax while streaming. Like have that be their relaxation time, because
I wouldn't
it's a
call it
job.
relaxation time.
Yeah.
I'd call it a hobby.
Yeah. It's work. I mean, it's hard. And I don't even stream very much anymore, but there was a time where I spent probably 90, 100 hours a week streaming. And it was just it's very unhealthy in terms of like the work-life balance, because you'll just be like, what's the difference between me playing a game and me playing a game with the lights and the camera on?
Yep.
And it can be hard to mentally distinguish those.